My reading, the reading of the Qur'an oscillates between here and here, right? It becomes a mind reading, and then it becomes a spiritual reading, and a mind reading, and a spiritual reading. And you've got to, it's okay if you're starting out, let it be a heart reading. And then as the love of it grows, it becomes a mindful reading. And but if it gets too intellectual, then the heart starts like, wait, what about me? It was إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَذِكْرًا لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ. This is a reminder for someone who has a heart, right?
I think born Muslims need that as well, right?
Of course.
Not, I know that I framed it in that way just to kind of, I don't mean to categorize, but, and the next question was going to be from, I think you already alluded to it, which was that, someone now is Hafiz of Qur'an, does multiple khatams a year, is revising hardcore in Ramadan because he has to stand there for Taraweeh. His poor legs are shaking. He makes a mistake in Fatiha, right? But he gets through it at the end of it, done. But then he leaves Eid and he's like, oh, I didn't, so.
Yeah, for Hufaz, that especially Hufaz that are young boys that are, they've memorized and then they recite well, and then they get put in a position to lead the prayer, right? And then they're so nervous because they have to review, and their muraja'ah goes into high gear in Ramadan, and then it's performative, right? And we've created a culture of them having to perform, and we've made them performers for our sake.
Right.
And then nobody's happy. Somebody says you recited too slow. Somebody says you recited too fast. Right. And then there's the Ramadan Olympics. Who's going to lead on the 27th night? Who's going to do the etc. So
and I'm going to do a hot take here. You bring in the qari and and then you get the TikTok qaris who become famous for so it becomes a performance.
And you know what? I'm not here to criticize that.
Right.
At least they're getting some Qur'an out of this, right?
Right.
But my concern is for those young men that are leading those prayers, right? My advice to them would be, do what you're doing, that's fine. But identify a small portion of the Qur'an that you spend time with for your heart, not for your memorization, not for your, your performance in leading the prayer, not for your review. That was all, it's like saying somebody spent their entire time perfecting their wudu and never got to the prayer.
Okay,
that's the analogy.
Right, okay, yeah.
Right, so all of this recitation and memorization, that's the equivalent of wudu. The contemplation and the engagement with the word of Allah, that's the actual prayer. That's what this book came for. So you are in a unique position because you have so much quantitative Qur'an in you. Use Ramadan to, at least a part of Ramadan should be dedicated to a qualitative reading of the Qur'an. My other advice to Hufaz the rest of the year, especially if you're looking forward to coming of Ramadan and you're preparing for it and this is exciting for you, I'm happy that it is. I would like every Hafiz that can understand English, I would like to invite them to go take the year and go through my entire concise commentary and go through it every year. Not the deeper look, it's okay. Just the concise commentary, finish it every year. It's a couple of 100 hours. Just go through the whole thing every year. And in a couple of years, even if you haven't learned Arabic, you're leading Taraweeh and you're actually remembering, at least at the surface level, what Allah is saying.
Yeah.
And then that, Osman, this is very important to me. There's so much conversation about people recite the Qur'an and they don't understand it. I don't think that's the problem. I'll say it flat out. I don't think that's the problem. I think that's framing the problem incorrectly.
Okay, elaborate.
Understanding the Qur'an is not the issue. What do you do after you understand it? So let's say I know Arabic. So did Abu Jahl. So did Abu Lahab. The worst hypocrites had better Arabic than you.
Yeah.
Did they not?
Correct.
The ulama of Bani Israel, Allah says they know the book and they know the Qur'an and they know the Kaaba and they know the Prophet like they know their own children. So they're super. Allah gave them ijazah in their ilm. Allah told us that they have super knowledge.
Right.
So if knowledge was the problem, and clearly the knowledge didn't solve a much bigger problem, right? What happens after understanding it, and even before understanding it, is why are you trying to understand this? I'm not trying to understand this so I can feel I know the Qur'an now. Because quite honestly, 25 years and I can tell you there's no such thing as knowing the Qur'an.
Right.
There's no such thing.
Okay.
Like somebody saying, I know the ocean. No, you don't. You know the few drops that touched you.
SubhanAllah.
You know, the one pearl you pulled out, you don't know the ocean. Nobody knows the ocean. You know of the ocean. You know some things about the ocean, right? But you know what? After understanding, there is experiencing the Qur'an.
Give me an example of
Like-
experience in the Quran.
Okay, so let's say your dad talks to you every day. How's the weather? Did you finish your work? Did you take your medicine? There's this bill you didn't pay, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, you listen to your dad every day. Do you understand him? Yes. But one day he tells you, you know, I remember the day you graduated. I can't tell you how proud I was. Do you know I prayed for you that day? Do you know this dua I made? Do you know what I said the day your sister passed away? Do you know the day and he talks to you. You still understand him, just like you understood him when he said, where are the car keys?
Right.
Right? But you experienced your dad that day.
Allah.